I'm bound to a dating app system, and if I fail a mission, I'm forced to publicly fart for 30 seconds straight. The system told me to go to a coffee shop and hit on the girl in the third seat from the window. Her name was Sophie Chun. She had a tiny, glittering star decal under her right eye, and a smile as sweet as honey. But then she leaned in close and whispered in my ear, "Ethan, I know you're bound to a dating sim system." That's when I realized she was more dangerous than the system. One day, dating sim system successfully bound. I was sitting on the toilet, scrolling through my phone, when the voice suddenly blared from the speakers. I nearly dropped the damn thing in the bowl. What the hell? I rubbed my temples, wondering if working until 3 a.m. last night had finally made me start hearing things. Host, Ethan Carter. Age, 26. Occupation, software engineer. Consecutive years single, 26. Host meets all system binding requirements. This time, I heard it clearly. A robotic female voice was definitely speaking from my phone. I pinched my thigh and winced. Not a dream. Seriously, did my phone get a virus? The system will issue its first mission in 30 seconds. Please prepare, host. Whoa, hold on. I hissed, terrified my roommate would hear me talking to myself in the bathroom. What system? Who installed this? I never downloaded an app like this. Dating Sim System version 2.0, developed and installed by the person who loves Ethan most. System objective, to help the host find true love within 30 days. I was completely baffled. The person who loves me most? My mom? No way. She can barely use a smartphone. My sister? That girl lives and breathes celebrity gossip. She doesn't have the skills for this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mission issued. Proceed to Stardust Brews at 3 p.m. today. Approach the female individual in the third seat from the window and successfully obtain her contact information. Mission reward, $1,000 cash. Failure penalty, publicly fart for 30 seconds. Wait, what kind of messed up penalty is that? I almost shot off the toilet. And why Stardust Brews? That's right next to my office. The system didn't answer. Instead, a translucent mission interface appeared on my phone screen. Mission 1. First encounter, location, Stardust Brews time. Today, 3 p.m. target. Female in the third seat from the window reward. $1,000 penalty. Publicly fart for 30 seconds. System enforced completion. 0% countdown. 5 hours, 59 minutes, and 32 seconds. I stared at the screen for a full minute until my roommate knocked on the door. Ethan, you fall in? I gotta use the bathroom. Be right out. I scrambled to pull up my pants and flush, my mind a total mess. After leaving the bathroom, I went through the motions of brushing my teeth and washing my face, pinching myself every few seconds to make sure I wasn't dreaming. The system interface stayed on my phone, the countdown ticking away. It has to be a hallucination. Too many late nights at work. I said this to my reflection in the mirror, only to see the words single for 26 years floating above my head. Holy crap. I stumbled back, bumping into my dresser. Was that a projection or something? What the hell? My roommate peeked out from the kitchen. What are you screaming about so early in the morning? And nothing. I managed a dry laugh, grabbed my backpack, and fled the apartment. 2. I didn't hear a single word during the morning stand-up meeting. My brain was completely occupied by the bizarre system and its ridiculous mission. During my lunch break, I secretly Googled what happens when you suddenly get bound to a system, and all the results were about novels and anime. Ethan, you look terrible. Rough night? My coworker, Dave, asked as he sat down next to me with his tray. Huh? Oh yeah, something like that. I said, distractedly poking at my salad. Heard we got a new developer on the engineering team. A real beauty, started today. Dave gave me a nudge and a wink. A 26-year-old single guy, like you should shoot his shot, right? I nearly choked on a piece of lettuce. How did you know I've been single for 26 years? Dave looked at me like I was an idiot. You told everyone yourself at the holiday party last year. You were wasted and crying to the department head about never finding a girlfriend. I wanted to crawl under the table and die. At the same time, it confirmed the system wasn't a hallucination. It knew even my most embarrassing moments. At 2:50 p.m., I used grabbing a coffee as an excuse to slip out of the office. I stood in front of Stardust Brews, hesitating. My brain was screaming at me to turn around and leave, but a mix of curiosity and the thought of an easy $1,000 pushed me through the glass door. Jingle. The sound of the bell over the door made my heart pound. The cafe wasn't crowded. I immediately spotted the third seat from the window. A girl was sitting there. Her back was to me. She had long, dark hair pulled into a high ponytail, revealing the pale, elegant nape of her neck. A laptop covered in anime stickers sat on the table next to a half-finished latte. I took a deep breath and forced myself to walk over. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I asked, pointing to the chair opposite her. My voice trembled a little. The girl looked up and I froze. She was beautiful, not in a generic influencer way, but with a delicate, almost scholarly charm. She had round, almond-shaped eyes, a small nose, and a tiny mole near the corner of her lips. But the most captivating thing was the tiny, glittering star decal stuck just under her right eye, sparkling in the sunlight. "It's free. Go ahead," she said with a smile. Her voice was 100 times softer than the system's. I sat down stiffly, my mind a complete blank. The system didn't give me any conversation starters. "You like working here too?" she asked, breaking the silence and pointing at my company ID badge. "Oh yeah, my office is right across the street." I felt a wave of relief. "And you are?" "Sophie Chun. I just started in the engineering department today," she said, extending her hand. "Looks like we're co-workers." I shook her hand. It was soft and cool to the touch. "Ethan Carter. I'm in marketing." "I know," she said with a smile. Seeing my confused look, she added, "It says so on your badge." "Oh, right." I let go of her hand, feeling my face flush. The rest of the conversation went smoother than I could have ever imagined. We talked about work, our favorite movies, the latest viral video game. Not only was Sophie gorgeous, but she was also witty and funny, completely lacking the social awkwardness I associated with most of the engineering team. "We should exchange numbers," she said after about half an hour, pulling out her phone. "We could grab lunch tomorrow. I'm new, so I don't know the good spots around here yet." "Yeah, definitely," I said, scrambling to scan her contact info, internally screaming with joy. This mission was way too easy. The moment we added each other, the system chimed on my phone. I instinctively pulled it out to check my notifications. Sure enough, a bank alert. $1,000 has been deposited into your account. Followed by a text. "Mission 100% complete. Reward has been sent to host bank account." "Everything okay?" Sophie asked, tilting her head. "Yeah, it's just..." I looked up and met her eyes, noticing for the first time that her irises were an unusual light brown in the sun, almost like colored contacts. "Your eye color is really unique." She blinked. "I get it from my mom. She's mixed race." She then pulled a small bottle of eye drops from her purse. "My contacts get a little dry sometimes." I nodded, not thinking much of it. We chatted for a bit longer before she said she had to go run some errands. I felt like I was floating as I left the coffee shop. Not only had I made $1,000 out of thin air, but I'd also met an amazing, cute girl. Could this system actually be real? Back at my desk, I eagerly opened my phone to the system interface. Mission 1. First encounter complete. Reward dispersed. New mission will be issued in 24 hours. Current points, 1,000. Redeemable rewards. Advanced Style Guide, 500 points. Compendium of Pickup Lines, 300 points. Sophie Chin's List of Preferences, 800 points. My heart skipped a beat as I stared at the last item. The system even had that? This was seriously creepy. After a moment of hesitation, I redeemed Sophie Chin's List of Preferences. Sophie Chin's List of Preferences: food, anything matcha-flavored, hates carrots. Hobbies: coding, anime, horror games. Ideal type: a man who is smart, funny, and responsible. Other: mild night blindness, afraid of the dark. I committed the list to memory, thinking this system was basically a cheat code. But who the hell developed it? And why did it want me to go after Sophie? On my way home from work, I kept feeling like someone was watching me. But every time I turned around, I just saw ordinary people on the street. It was probably just the system making me paranoid. 5 that night, after a shower, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when a new message from Sophie popped up. "Meet me downstairs from the office tomorrow at noon. I know a new matcha dessert place that just opened." I grinned like an idiot at the little tilde, typing back, "Sounds good. My treat." "So generous?" "Well, I won't say no." Seeing her emoji, I couldn't help but roll over in my bed like a teenager. This was moving fast. Could my 26-year streak of being single finally be over? Just as I was basking in the glow, the system alert sounded on my phone. Warning, host's heart rate is abnormally high. Please remain calm. Excessive excitement may lead to an increase in mission difficulty. What? I shot up in bed. The mission difficulty can change. 6. The system didn't answer, but I noticed that Sophie Chin's list of preferences on the interface was now grayed out, with a new line of text underneath. Data updating. A sense of unease washed over me. I decided to try and figure out more about this system. System, who is your developer? The person who loves Ethan most. A specific name? Insufficient permission. What is your purpose? To help the host find true love. Why did you pick me? The host meets all requirements. This was more frustrating than arguing with ChatGPT. I sighed, about to give up, when a question occurred to me. Does Sophie know about this system? The system paused for 2 full seconds. I swear it paused before answering. Target individual Sophie Chun has a direct connection to the system. What kind of connection? I pressed immediately. Insufficient permission. 7. I roll my eyes. Just then, I noticed something metallic glinting under my bed. I leaned down and saw a tiny object wedged between the bed frame and the floor. When I pulled it out, my blood ran cold. It was a micro camera. What the hell? My hand trembled and I dropped it. It rolled across the floor, its tiny red light still blinking. I immediately tore my room apart. I found 2 more, one hidden in a power outlet and another in the air conditioning vent. Someone had bugged my rented room, and I'd had no idea. My hand shook as I called the police. Sitting in the living room waiting for them to arrive, my mind was racing. Who would spy on me? I wasn't rich or famous. I was just a regular programmer. Suddenly, a terrifying thought hit me. The system said its developer was the person who loves Ethan most. And today, the system led me straight to Sophie. No, that's impossible. She just met me. When the police arrived, they took my statement and collected the cameras for investigation. I didn't sleep a wink that night, haunted by the feeling that someone was watching me from the darkness. 8. The next day, I went to work with dark circles under my eyes and, of course, ran into Sophie in the elevator. Morning. She had her hair down today, but the little star was still stuck under her right eye. You look tired. Didn't sleep well. I instinctively took a small step back, putting some distance between us. She tilted her head. Nightmare. Something like that, I said with a forced smile. I noticed she was wearing light pink nail polish today, and on her left ring finger, she had a tiny tattoo of the letter E for Ethan. The elevator reached my floor, and I practically bolted out, forgetting to even say goodbye. I was on edge all morning, constantly checking the system interface on my phone. The data updating message was still there, and the preference list remained inaccessible. 9 at noon, after a lot of hesitation, I went downstairs to meet her. Sophie was already waiting by the entrance, waving at me from a distance. The shop is just around the corner, she said, naturally linking her arm with mine. I heard their matcha lava cake is to die for. I let her pull me along, my body stiff, my mind a battlefield. If she really was the one spying on me, why go through the trouble of creating a system to get us to meet? Couldn't she just have asked me out? Unless she enjoyed this kind of game. Ethan, are you listening? Sophie gave my arm a little shake. Huh, sorry, I zoned out. I was asking what you like to do on weekends, she said, her big eyes looking completely innocent. Just play video games, watch movies, stuff like that. I answered cautiously, deciding not to tell the truth. No way, me too, she said excitedly. You should come over to my place and play sometime. I have an amazing setup. I managed a dry laugh, thinking I bet. A setup complete with a wall of monitors showing every angle of my life. The dessert shop was cozy. We found a table in the corner. As promised, Sophie ordered the matcha lava cake, while I just got a coffee. Actually, she suddenly lowered her voice, leaning in conspiratorially. I have something to tell you. My heart hammered against my ribs. What is it? She paused, her eyes locked on mine. I know you're bound to a system. I sprayed a mouthful of coffee all over the table. 10 cough. I choked, my face turning red as I frantically wiped the table. What did you say? Sophie calmly handed me a napkin, the star under her eye glinting in the light. Dating Sim System version 2. 0. Cash reward for success. public farting as a penalty. Need I go on? I felt like I'd been plunged into ice water. All the blood drained from my face. How could she know everything in such detail? Unless it was you. My voice was trembling. You're the person who loves Ethan most? She smiled sweetly and tapped a few times on her phone. My own phone buzzed instantly. It was a Venmo notification. Sophie Chen sent you $5,000. 1,000 for our first meeting, another 5 for getting my number. She rested her chin on her hand, looking at me. So, how do you like my system? My brain completely shut down. Why? Why would you do all this? Because I like you? Silly, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. I've liked you ever since I saw your code on GitHub 3 months ago. 3 months. My eyes widened. So you've been watching you? Yes, she confirmed with a nod. I followed your GitHub, your Twitter, your Reddit, your YouTube. Oh, and I have your DoorDash order history and your Amazon purchase records, too. This wasn't just watching. This was full-blown stalking. I shot to my feet. The cameras in my apartment. That was you too, wasn't it? Cameras. She looked genuinely confused. What cameras? Don't play dumb with me. I hissed, keeping my voice low. I found 3 micro cameras in my room. Sophie's expression shifted from confusion to shock, and then to something that looked almost hurt. You think that was me? Her voice suddenly turned cold. Ethan, if I wanted to watch you, I wouldn't need to use such low-tech methods. She picked up her phone, and her fingers flew across the screen. My phone, sitting on the table, suddenly unlocked itself, and lines of code started scrolling rapidly down the display. See? I can take control of any of your electronic devices whenever I want, she said with a cold smirk. Planting cameras? That's just sloppy. I stared at her, dumbfounded, a mix of fear and confusion churning in my gut. Then who? How should I know? She rolled her eyes. Maybe it was your roommate who keeps using your shampoo. Just then, the system's voice blared from my phone. Host and developer encounter detected. Hidden mission activated. Kiss Sophie Chan. Reward, $10,000. Penalty, post I am a moron to the company-wide Slack channel and then delete it. Both Sophie and I froze. She could hear the system's voice too. Wait, I said, finally processing. Your system is malfunctioning. Why is the voice playing out loud? It's my program. Of course I can hear it, she said with a frown. But I never programmed a hidden mission like this. Our eyes met, and we both realized the same thing at the same time. The system's been hacked, Sophie said, her expression turning serious. Someone breached my server. Before I could even process that, the system spoke again. Penalty countdown. 1098. What penalty? I thought it was a hidden mission, Sophie asked, confused. The penalty is posting I am a moron in the company Slack. I was starting to sweat. The countdown is almost over. Without another moment of hesitation, Sophie grabbed the front of my shirt, pulled me across the table, and pressed her lips against mine in a quick, firm kiss. 4, 3, 2. Mission complete. We sprang apart as if electrocuted. Sophie's face was as red as a tomato, and I felt like my entire body was on fire. Teach that should do it, she stammered, frantically trying to smooth her hair. I'll fix the security vulnerability and find out who. Hold on. A thought suddenly struck me. If you developed the system, why did you need it to set us up? Couldn't you have just asked me out? Sophie's eyes darted away. Well, where's the fun in that? Besides, I was afraid you'd say no. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So you'd rather hack my phone and install a system? Technically, I exploited a vulnerability in one of your apps to inject the system. She mumbled, then her eyes lit up. But it worked, didn't it? We're on a date. I shook my head in disbelief, but I found I wasn't really angry. After all, who could stay mad at a girl this cute and terrifyingly brilliant? So, I asked tentatively, what are we now? Sophie's eyes sparkled. Boyfriend and girlfriend, obviously. My system even certified it. Huh. She excitedly pulled up the system interface on her phone and showed it to me. Host relationship status. In a relationship partner. Sophie Chin affection level. 50 out of 100 next milestone. Move in together. Wait, I recoiled in horror. Isn't that moving a little fast? Fast? I've had a crush on you for 3 months, she pouted. But we've only known each other for a day. The system shows we've interacted for over 12 hours, which is equivalent to 3 months of dating for a normal couple, she stated matter-of-factly. According to the algorithm, we should be entering the cohabitation phase now. I stared at her, speechless, the realization dawning on me that I may have just gotten myself a bona fide Yandere girlfriend. I'll move in tonight, Sophie announced happily. It'll be the perfect chance to sweep your apartment for any other bugs. I haven't agreed to this. Objection overruled, she winked playfully. Or I'll make you do a TikTok dance in front of the entire office. I realized with a sense of despair that I might never escape this dating sim system. Or rather, I might never escape Sophie. Looking at this girl, who was equal parts adorable and terrifying, I sighed, but couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from turning up. Maybe being liked by a genius Yandere wasn't so bad after all. Fine, I conceded, but you have to promise to stop spying on me. I promise, she said sweetly, as I noticed her fingers tapping rapidly on her phone screen under the table. My phone vibrated. It was a new message from the dating sim system. Mission update. Hug your girlfriend. Reward. 1. Kiss from Sophie penalty. None time limit. Now. I looked up at Sophie's innocent face and, resigning myself to my fate, opened my arms. What's the mission this time? She asked, feigning surprise as she dove into my embrace. You know damn well, I said, hugging her back. I could smell the faint scent of peaches in her hair. Maybe a relationship governed by a system wasn't so bad after all. Ethan, wake up. Something soft was brushing against my face. I pried my eyes open to see Sophie tickling my nose with the ends of her long hair. What time is it? I mumbled, reaching for my phone. 7:30. She slapped my hand away. Forget your phone. I made breakfast. I finally noticed she was wearing one of my button-down shirts. It was so big on her it looked like a dress, revealing a pair of long, pale legs. Her hair was a mess, and the star decal under her eye was crooked. You wearing my shirt? I pointed out the obvious. Yep, she spun around. It smells like you. My ears burned. I quickly changed the subject. What's for breakfast? Scrambled eggs, toast, and coffee, she announced proudly, before adding, although the eggs might be a little burnt, the toast is a bit charred, and I might have put too much sugar in the coffee. I couldn't help but laugh. Sound perfect. Really. Her eyes lit up, and she threw her arms around my neck. I knew you'd like it. She tackled me back onto the bed, her peachy scent mingling with the smell of my own body wash. After 3 days of living together, I was already getting used to having this human barnacle attached to me. Breakfast is getting cold, she whispered, blowing a puff of air into my ear before bouncing out of the bedroom. I sighed, but I was smiling like an idiot. At the table, I stared at the blackened eggs and charcoal-like toast and fell into a deep contemplation. Well, Sophie asked, her chin resting on her hands, her face full of expectation. I cut off a piece of egg and put it in my mouth. It was so salty it was bitter, but I nodded anyway. It's delicious. Liar. She snatched my fork, tasted it herself, and immediately wrinkled her nose. Blech. It's so salty. I thought it was okay. Ethan, she glared at me, puffing out her cheeks. No lying. My system will dock you points for it. I then noticed the smartwatch on her wrist was flashing with a blue light, her custom-made affection level monitor. Okay, you got me, I said, raising my hands in surrender. It's a little salty. That's better, she nodded, satisfied. Then, she pulled a takeout bag from behind her back. I actually bought a backup breakfast. I was just testing her honesty. I stared, dumbfounded, as she produced perfectly cooked eggs, golden brown toast, and a steaming cup of coffee from the bag. You. Surprise, she mimed, throwing confetti. And as a reward, you get a kiss. She came around the table and planted a loud smooch on my cheek, leaving behind a faint, peach-flavored lipstick print. Affection level plus 10 points, she announced, looking at her watch. We're at 60 now. What do 60 points get me? I asked curiously. The right to plan one date, she said excitedly. I'm taking you somewhere special tonight. Looking into her sparkling eyes, I suddenly felt that even a romance dictated by a system could be pretty sweet. At 7 that evening, I arrived at the address Sophie had sent me. It was an unfamiliar high-rise building. Where is this? I texted her. Rooftop. Come on up. She replied instantly. The elevator took me to the top floor. When I pushed open the door to the roof, The view took my breath away. The entire rooftop had been transformed into a pop-up observatory, complete with a professional-grade telescope. Strings of fairy lights were draped everywhere, glowing like scattered stars against the night sky. Sophie stood in the middle of it all, wearing a dress with a galaxy print and star-shaped clips in her hair. "Welcome to my secret base." She spun around with her arms outstretched. "What do you think?" "This is amazing," I said, walking toward her and looking up at the sky full of stars. "When did you set all this up?" "Yesterday," she said proudly. "I used my system points to rent the space and the equipment." "The system can do that?" "Of course." She pulled me over to the telescope. "Look, there's a meteor shower tonight." I peered into the eyepiece just in time to see a shooting star streak across the sky. "Did you make a wish?" she asked. "Not yet." "Let's do it together." She closed her eyes and clasped her hands together. I closed my eyes too and silently wished for this strange, wonderful romance to last forever. "What did you wish for?" I asked when I opened my eyes. "Can't tell you, or it won't come true," she said with a mysterious wink, then pointed at the sky. "Look." Dozens of meteors shot across the sky at once, like a brilliant firework display. In the starlight, Sophie's profile was unrealistically beautiful. "Ethan," she said softly, "did you know I had a hack into NASA's database to find out about tonight's meteor shower?" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Isn't that illegal?" "Worth it for you." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Besides, they didn't catch me." I shook my head, but couldn't help but wrap an arm around her. The night wind blew through her hair, carrying the scent of her shampoo. "Are you cold?" I asked. "A little." She snuggled closer into my side. I took off my jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She took the opportunity to burrow into my chest like a small cat finding a warm spot. "Ethan," she said, looking up at me, her eyes brighter than the stars. "Can we kiss?" "Why all of a sudden?" "Because couples who kiss during a meteor shower stay together forever," she said seriously. "It's a proven fact, according to the system's big data analysis." I smiled. "Your system knows that too?" "Of course," she said, puffing out her chest proudly. "I fed it data from every romantic legend in the world." Seeing her so earnest, I leaned down and kissed her. Her lips were soft and cool, with the sweet taste of peach lip balm. Under a sky full of shooting stars, we shared a long, lingering kiss. Her heart was beating as fast as a frightened bird's, and my system watch showed our affection level soaring straight to 80. 16. The next morning, I was jolted awake by what sounded like an explosion in the kitchen. "Sophie." I bolted into the kitchen to find her standing amidst a cloud of flour, a misshapen cake sitting on the counter. "Morning," she waved casually, a smudge of chocolate on her cheek. "I'm making breakfast." "Is that a cake?" "Yeah." She pointed proudly at the collapsed, blackened object. "Chocolate lava cake, though the lava kind of escaped." I burst out laughing. "Need some help?" "No." She pushed me out of the kitchen. "Go get ready. It'll be done in a minute." 20 minutes later, I was sitting at the table, staring at a cake that vaguely resembled a heart, next to a glass of suspiciously colored juice. "What kind of juice is this?" I asked cautiously. "A fruit and vegetable smoothie," she announced excitedly. "It has carrots, celery, apples, and a little bit of durian for flavor." I struggled to keep my expression neutral. "You remember I hate carrots, right?" "Of course I do," she said, completely unapologetic. "That's why I blended them into a juice, so you have to drink it for your own good. It's all about a balanced diet." Looking at her expectant face, I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and chugged the indescribably flavored liquid. "So," she asked eagerly. I fought to control my facial muscles. "It's creative." "Liar." She grabbed a glass, took a sip, and immediately spit it out. "Ugh, that's disgusting." "It wasn't that bad." "Ethan." She suddenly threw her arms around me. "You're too good to me. You drank it even though it was awful." I patted her on the back. "It's because you made it." She looked up, her eyes glistening. "Really?" "Yeah." "Well then." A mischievous glint appeared in her eyes. "As a reward, I'll do whatever you say for the rest of the day. I'm temporarily transferring system admin rights to you." I raised an eyebrow. "For real?" "Totally." She fiddled with her watch. "You now have 3 commands. You can ask for anything you want." Her suggestive wink made my ears burn. Don't get any ideas. What ideas? She feigned innocence. Sounds like you're the one with the dirty mind. I shook my head, exasperated, but then an idea struck me. First command, you have to watch a horror movie with me. Her face fell instantly. What? No, please. I hate horror movies. You said you'd do what I say, right? I said, putting on a serious face. Ugh, fine, she agreed, slumping in defeat. That afternoon, we were curled up on the couch watching The Grudge. Every time a scary part came on, Sophie would bury her face in my chest and scream, her fingers digging into my shirt. I thought you were a master hacker, I teased. You're really scared of this fake stuff? Code doesn't crawl out of the screen at you, she retorted before another jump scare sent her hiding behind me. Watching her tremble, I suddenly felt that watching horror movies was definitely worth it. Second command, I said, hitting pause. Tell me why you started liking me. She froze for a second, her face slowly turning red. I just did. Be specific. Well, she fidgeted with the hem of my shirt. At first, I saw your code on GitHub. It was so clean and well commented. I just thought, this guy must be a really gentle person. I never would have guessed that was the reason. That's it. Then I started looking at your social media, she continued. You feed stray cats, you help old ladies with their groceries, and you're always contributing to open source projects. I just like you more and more. A warm feeling spread through my chest. And that's why you hacked my phone and installed the system? That was the final step, she pouted. I observed you for 3 months before making my move. Third command, I said, looking at her blushing cheeks. From now on, just tell me what you want directly. No more using the system. Her eyes widened. But that's no fun. I want to hear it from you, I said seriously. She stared at me for a few seconds, then launched herself at me and kissed me. You idiot. How am I supposed to say stuff like that out loud? I smiled and caught her. The system watch beeped. Affection level had just broken 90. 17 that night. I was in the shower when I realized the body wash was empty. Sophie, I yelled through the door. Can you grab me a new bottle of body wash? Coming, her cheerful voice replied. The bathroom door cracked open. A hand reached through, but instead of holding body wash, it was holding her phone. What are you doing? I asked, confused. QR code, she said matter-of-factly. New system feature. Video calling during a shower increases the affection level. What the hell? I slammed the door shut. No way. Why not, she whined. I gave you admin rights and everything. What does that have to do with anything? Everything. Trust is a two-way street. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This isn't a trust issue. Then what is it? It's a privacy issue. We're living together. What's privacy? She argued, starting to sound petulant. Do you not love me anymore? Hearing her fake sobs, I sighed. Okay, look, just give me the body wash, and we could talk about it. Really? Her crying stopped instantly. Really? The door cracked open again. The body wash was passed through, but the bottle was empty. Sophie, ha. I heard her laugh as she ran off. Just kidding. The real one's right here. A brand new, peach-scented bottle of body wash came flying over the door, hitting me squarely on the head. Affection level +5, she announced from outside. We're at 95 now. I rubbed my head where the bottle had hit, but I couldn't help but smile. As I opened the new bottle, the rich scent of peaches filled the shower, the exact same scent as hers. Maybe being loved by this crazy, brilliant girl was the luckiest thing that had ever happened to me. After my shower, I walked out to find Sophie asleep on the couch, curled up and hugging my pillow. A smile played on her lips, and her watch showed the affection level had reached 98. I walked over quietly and draped a blanket over her. In her sleep, she nuzzled my hand and mumbled, Ethan, I love you the most. In that moment, I was suddenly grateful for her dating sim system. The end. Epilogue. 18. I woke up earlier than usual. Sunlight streamed through a gap in the curtains. Sophie was curled up beside me, her breathing soft and even. She had a habit of grabbing the hem of my shirt while she slept, like a child seeking security. I gently pried her hand off, planning to get up and make breakfast. As I sat up, I caught a glimpse of her phone screen lighting up on the nightstand. It was a system notification. Master plan progress, 95%, emotional dependency, extremely high, physical dependency, medium, Next phase, total domination. I froze, a chill running down my spine. What the hell was this? A progress bar? The phone vibrated again, and a new notification appeared. Recommended action. Fabricate a crisis event to enhance dependency. I stared at the cold, impersonal text, my throat suddenly tight. I turned to look at Sophie. Her angelic sleeping face now seemed utterly alien. I quietly picked up her phone, no password of course, and opened an app named Project E. The interface was terrifyingly simple. Master plan, progress surveillance, subsystem, behavioral control, emergency protocols. I tapped on surveillance subsystem and nearly threw the phone across the room. It was a live feed showing every corner of my apartment, including the bedroom. The angles were different from the cameras I'd found before. These were new. Honey, what are you looking at? Sophie's voice, suddenly right next to my ear, made my heart stop. I whipped my head around to see her propped up on one elbow, looking at me with sleepy, innocent eyes. What is this? My voice shook as I showed her the phone screen. She blinked, then smiled. Oh, you found it. Her nonchalant reaction was more terrifying than anything else. She took the phone from me, her excitement like a kid showing off a new toy. This is my new master control program. It's way more advanced than the old dating system. So all of this, it was all planned? The hidden cameras, you planned it before, too? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Of course. She tilted her head as if I'd asked a stupid question. The system was part of the plan from the very beginning. The system was never hacked, was it? You made that happen so we would kiss. The sunlight hit her face, making the star decal under her eyes sparkle. I felt a profound chill. You still don't get how much I love you, do you? Let me explain from the beginning. Sophie sat cross-legged on the bed, looking as excited as if she were telling a romantic story. First, I really did find you on GitHub. She opened her photo gallery to a screenshot of an open-source project I had uploaded a year ago. Your coding style was just so captivating. Your comments were as gentle as love letters, she said, stroking the screen obsessively. I immediately hacked your account and discovered you even feed stray cats. The next few photos made my skin crawl. They were all pictures of me from moments I had no idea I was being photographed, feeding a cat, buying groceries, waiting for the bus, looking exhausted after work. The more I learned, the more I fell for you, she continued, her eyes growing feverish. But you were so passive. 26 years, and you'd never even been on a date. So I decided to give you a little push. She pulled up a flowchart titled Ethan Carter Conquest Plan. It detailed every single step, from our first meeting to moving in together, even predicting my various reactions and her corresponding counter-strategies. See? I even predicted you'd call the police about the cameras, she said, proudly pointing to a small branch on the chart. I already had a word with my contacts at the precinct. The investigation won't lead back to me. My blood ran cold. The chance meeting at the coffee shop. Completely staged, of course, she giggled. I knew your schedule, your habits, your favorite things. I got there 3 hours early to claim that specific table, the reward money from a system. Just my savings, she said with a wave of her hand. Our money will be shared eventually anyway. So what's wrong with giving you some of it early? I shot to my feet. You're insane. This is illegal. Don't be so dramatic, she pouted. It's called proactive pursuit. Besides, a sly smile spread across her face. You've already fallen in love with me, haven't you? I wanted to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. She was right. Despite knowing everything, I couldn't deny my feelings for her. See, she said, proudly showing me her system watch. The affection level was at 99. Just one more step to go. What's the last step? Total domination, of course. She hopped off the bed and pulled a folder out of a drawer. Sign this, and we'll be together forever. I opened the folder. It was a meticulously crafted legal document that granted her decision-making power over nearly every aspect of my life. You're out of your mind. I threw the document on the floor. Sophie's expression instantly turned icy. Ethan, do you really think you have a choice at this point? She picked up her phone and tapped the screen. My laptop turned on by itself. A projector screen lowered from the ceiling, and videos began to play on the wall. All private moments from the past few months, including a clip of me dancing around my room in nothing but my underwear. If these were to leak online, she said, tilting her head, what do you think would happen? I was shaking with rage. What do you really want? It's simple. Her sweet demeanor returned in an instant. She bounced over and linked her arm with mine. I want you to never leave me, to only look at me, and to let me take care of everything for you. That's not love. That's imprisonment. It's the same thing, she corrected, then stood on her toes and whispered in my ear. And you know what the best part is? What? Even after finding all this out, her breath tickled my ear. You still can't bring yourself to push me away. Her words stabbed me like a knife. She was right. I could call the police, I could run, I could expose her. But I hadn't, because I was truly in love with this psycho. I'll give you 3 days to think about it, Sophie said, humming a little tune as she made the bed, as if our conversation had been about what to have for lunch. The system will continue to operate as normal in the meantime. I sat on the couch, my mind a chaotic mess. My phone vibrated. It was a system message. Final mission. Accept Sophie's love. Reward. Eternal happiness penalty. Lose Sophie time limit. 72 hours. I gave a bitter laugh and closed the notification. What kind of choice was this? Either submit to the control of a Yandere or lose the person I loved. Sophie was humming an off-key song in the kitchen. The sun streamed through the window, making her look like any other girl in love. Who could imagine the obsessive soul hidden behind that sweet facade? My gaze fell on a picture frame on the coffee table, one she'd put there a few days ago. It was a selfie of us from the night we watched the meteor shower. I looked exasperated, and she was beaming, with a sky full of stars behind us. Dinner's ready, she called out, carrying a plate. The scrambled eggs were, for once, perfect. You were making them badly on purpose before, weren't you? I realized. Of course, she stuck her tongue out. How else was I supposed to know if you were being honest when you said you liked my cooking? Every interaction was a test, every moment a calculation. I should have been furious, but instead, I felt a strange pang of pity. Why me? I asked softly. You're beautiful, brilliant. You could have any guy you want. She put down the plate, her expression uncharacteristically serious. Ethan, do you know how my parents met? I shook my head. My mom was a hacker. She'd broken into my dad's computer, she said with a smile. She hid a love letter in his source code, changing a tiny bit every day until he finally noticed 3 months later. And then he called the cops, she shrugged. But my mom was prepared. She had already planted her photos and contact info all over his hard drive. The story left me speechless. So this is a family tradition. You could say that, she winked. Except I'm much more efficient than my mom. 3 months of observation and 1 month of conquest. Way faster than her 6-month plan. I put my head in my hands. That's nothing to be proud of. Of course it is. She suddenly launched herself at me, wrapping me in a hug. I found the best boyfriend in the entire world, and I made him fall in love with me. As she held me, the familiar scent of peaches filling my senses, I found myself hugging her back. See, she muffled a laugh into my chest. You can't resist me. No, I couldn't. Not because of the system, not because of the threats, but because I was truly, deeply in love with this obsessive, crazy, brilliant girl. Maybe being loved this intensely was its own kind of happiness. 22 on the final day of my 3-day deadline. I came home from work to find the apartment completely transformed. The walls were covered in our photos, some I didn't even remember being taken. A matching workstation with a top-of-the-line computer had been set up next to my desk. Even the bed had been replaced with a king-sized one. Welcome home. Sophie peeked out from the kitchen, wearing an apron, a smudge of flour on her face. I'm making your favorite pot roast. I stood in the doorway, unsure if I should be angry or touched. What is all this? A little pre-celebration. She ran over and gave me a tour. Look, our photo wall, our couple's workspace. And this is... I haven't said yes yet. I reminded her. But you haven't said no either, she retorted. Besides, the system shows our affection level is at 100. I glanced at my watch. It did indeed show 100 out of 100, with a little heart throbbing next to it. How? It was 99 yesterday. Oh, I just went into the system and tweaked it a little, she said without a shred of guilt. It was going to get there eventually, so what's the harm in moving it up a bit? Her shameless cheating was so absurd I didn't know how to react. Just as I was about to say something, I smelled something burning. The roast, she shrieked, dashing back to the kitchen. I followed her in and saw smoke billowing from the pot on the stove. 23, Sophie fumbled to turn off the heat and lifted the lid. The meat inside was completely carbonized. Ugh, I messed it up again, she said, her shoulders slumping. I followed the recipe exactly. Looking at her dejected profile, I suddenly made my decision. Sophie. Yeah. She looked up, the star decal under her eye now dusted with flour, making her look slightly ridiculous. I'll sign. Her eyes widened. Really? Yeah, I nodded. But on one condition. What condition? She asked, instantly on guard. Stop spying on me. If you want to know something, just ask me. We don't have to play these games, I said seriously. And also, teach me how to make pot roast. She stared at me for a few seconds, then launched herself into my arms with enough force to nearly knock me over. I promise, she mumbled into my chest. Actually, I turned off the cameras a while ago. It was just a looped video. Ever since the affection level hit 90. I was stunned. I gently cupped her face. Really? Yeah. She nodded emphatically, her eyes shining. By then, I already knew you loved me. I didn't need them anymore. And a master control program. 24 just for show, she said, sticking her tongue out. All the data was fake. I just wanted to see you get all worked up. I realized I'd been played again. Sophie, the agreement is real, though, she added quickly, pulling the folded document from her pocket. Sign it. I took the document and saw that she had handwritten a new clause under additional terms. Party B, Sophie Chun, promises to love Party A, Ethan Carter, forever, or else be doomed to be a software engineer for life. How was that a punishment? I couldn't help but laugh. It's a terrible punishment, she said with a straight face. It means I'd have to code for the rest of my life and could never switch jobs. Looking at her earnest expression, I suddenly thought that spending the rest of my life with this psycho might not be so bad after all. I picked up a pen and signed my name on the agreement. Sophie let out a whoop of joy, leaped into my arms, and gave me a kiss that tasted like flour and victory. I love you the most, she whispered in my ear. 1,000 times more than I love code. The system watch on my wrist beeped. It displayed. Mission complete. Reward dispersed. Eternal happiness. Maybe there had only ever been one right answer. To willingly walk into her trap and become the sole captive of her obsessive love. And I think it was the best choice I ever made. Epilogue end.